So, as some of you may have noticed, the audio portion for at least the first minute and a half or so of the week one introduction wasn't working. So, I'm going to try to re-record what I had said over the first slide, so in that first 90 seconds or so, and then splice together the old video at the end of this. So we'll see how this works, and you'll see that after the introductory slide, my image should pop up again in the corner with the old version. So again, welcome to week one. If you notice in Moodle, each week will follow a specific pattern that's designed to essentially provide, I guess, an overview or an outline for students as they go through this particular process. So each week you'll see that we start off with a text-based introduction that gives you sort of an overview of the week. Oftentimes I try to put a little cartoon or a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing in that particular introduction. The next thing that you'll see each week is this introductory video, where I'll try to give you again an overview of the week and provide you with a little bit more detail in terms of things I'd like you to take away from the individual readings, and how that might be, how that academic side of things might apply to some of the practical things that we're going to be doing. Then in Moodle you'll see that either the links or the PDFs for each of the readings are there, and that'll be followed by what I'll call the content. But essentially it'll be these text-based pages that may have some images in there, may have some videos or links to videos in there that sort of give you the how-to and really help you complete the activities that you need to for this particular course. Then you'll see that there's a text-based weekly checklist, which literally just goes through and lists off everything that you need to do this particular week and gives you a deadline in which I would like you to have that done by. So that's a really useful one to take a look at early in the week. I know a lot of students I've had in the past will just print off the 7 of those, or just add them to their Google Calendar and use that as a guide for their completion of the course. Then you'll often find a discussion forum in some of the early weeks, as I'm asking you to create accounts so that you can post what your account is, and people can essentially add your account to either their account or to their RSS feed or whatever I'm asking you to do of it. And then in some weeks you'll find that there are the links for the actual assignments, which essentially are, for the most part, things that are copied and pasted from the syllabus with a little bit additional information that you'll find in Moodle as opposed to what you saw in the syllabus. So I'm going to end this re-recording here now, and then I'm going to attempt to splice in the old recording at this stage, so it may have a bit of a jump as it goes through in the recording, and hopefully future weeks we won't have to worry about this. Alright, so first thing I want to talk about is a little bit about the readings, in particular about the nature of the readings in response to or in conjunction with the way the course is set up. Now, one of the things that you'll note is that the readings from week to week always focus upon blogging, either academic blogging or classroom blogging, or sort of blogging from a conceptual standpoint. And in just about every single week, save I think maybe week 6 or week 7, they actually have, I think it's week 6, the readings have little to do with the actual activities that you will do in the course. And that's done purposefully. So the readings are designed to provide you with more of a conceptual or theoretical or research-based or academic kind of perspective when it comes to blogging. And then the activities portion is designed to provide you with a much more hands-on practical application kind of setting. So one doesn't necessarily feed into the other, but they should complement each other. So for example, if you look at this week's reading, there are actually 4 required readings. The first 3 are actually quite short, and if I remember correctly, the O'Donnell actually isn't all that long either. So the 4 of them together are quite short, and they're basically designed to sort of introduce you to blogging and some of the general ways in which blogging can be used in an educational context, either as an educator blogger or using blogging with one's students as part of one's classroom teaching. Then there is the optional reading, and the optional read is an interesting one for a number of reasons. The first of which is the length, and this is probably the biggest reason why it's an optional reading. The actual document itself is 104 pages. Now, not only do I not expect you to read 104 pages, that's one of the reasons why it's an optional reading, but in all honesty, even if you did have the time to look at it, there are certain sections that I think are kind of useful, and then certain sections that I think are nice to know kinds of things, and then there's a whack of stuff in there that I don't think is really relevant to you guys at all. And sort of here's kind of a cheat sheet for it if you do decide to look through that particular document. So the section that they have in there on blog uses, that's actually a pretty good section. They go through and it really complements the other 4 readings, and in all honesty, even though this is an optional reading, that particular section is one that I would highly encourage you to read. The other 2 sections that I think are kind of useful are actually the next 2 sections in sequence, the blog case studies and the uses of blog in education and training. Now, the first one, blog case studies, one of the things that I've asked you to think about this week, at least in the introduction, and it'll come up again later in this video, is essentially what you envision for your blog, what you want your blog to be, what you're going to be blogging about, and how you're going to be using your blog, both in terms of for this course, but also hopefully moving you forward when, you know, the next academic year begins, regardless if you're in a K-12 or higher ed environment. Now, the section on blogging case studies is a series of case studies that, you know, what I would do is sort of skim through the first paragraph or 2, basically the first page, and if it sounds like something that you might be considering using your own blog for, then it might be worth skimming through the rest of the case study. If it doesn't sound like something you're going to be using for your particular blog, then I would skip it. The next section, this uses of blogs in education and training, this is, in all honesty, I think much more useful when we get into week 6 and week 5 and week 7. So the week that we're doing the classroom blogging, and then week 7 when we are actually doing the putting together your classroom blogging activity. So in all honesty, right now this week I might skip that portion or ignore that portion, but keep it in the back of my mind for when I get to week 5. Then I might come back and skim again through the first paragraph or 2 for each one of those uses to see if there's something that, you know, tickles your fancy, so to speak, that sounds like something you might like to try, and maybe spend a little bit more time with that one. So, looking at what we're actually going to be doing this week. Now, the main task for this week, or I guess the introductory task, is to actually create a blog. And in Moodle, you'll see that there's content for Blogger, WordPress, and EduBlogs, which are the 3 main blogging platforms that I would recommend that you use. Not saying that you have to use one of those 3, but those are the 3 that are sort of the most common ones that you'll find used. They're also the ones that I've got support material for in Moodle. So you'll find a page about each of these. You'll actually find a couple of pages that look at the differences between these different tools, you know, and explore those kinds of things. Take a few days to decide what tool you're going to use. I'll be honest with you, Blogger is sort of the original blogging tool. And was eventually bought out by Google. So one of the advantages of using Blogger is the fact that it's part of the Google suite of tools. So, you know, having a Google account like we all do here at Boise State makes Blogger quite nice in terms of the integration. WordPress is, generally speaking, a more powerful platform. It allows you to do a lot more than what Blogger does, although in all honesty, in the last couple of years, Blogger has come a long way. So the differences between sort of what you could do on Blogger and what you can do on the free WordPress site, Not a big difference between the two of them now. The third one is EduBlogs, which actually uses a WordPress platform, but it's actually specifically designed for educators. So in order to have an EduBlogs account, you either have to be an educator, and they use the term educator very broadly, so it includes both K-12 and in higher ed contexts, or a student. So regardless of your particular context, you meet those criteria. So one of the nice things about EduBlogs is everything else on the platform is education related. So that's one of the nice things. And you're also using the WordPress platform, which is the slightly more powerful of the platforms that are available. So, choose your blogging tool as you see fit, and maybe go in and play around with them a little bit to see which one you like better. Once you've selected a blogging tool, there are a couple of things that I'd like you to do. The first is to actually go in and post an entry. Now, in most cases, there will be an entry that's in there that's sort of already stocked in the thing that says like my first entry or my first blog post. You want to go in and delete that and then create one that, and typically speaking, it's an introductory entry. So it tells, the world a little bit about you, who you are, what you might be using your blog for, and in addition to that post, you're also going to create a page. So in both tools, or in both platforms, you'll have the ability to create posts or entries, and you'll have the ability to create pages. Now, entries are something that appear in the main part of the blog, and they basically appear as they're posted. So if you post one today, it'll be here, and when tomorrow comes, if you post another one, that'll show up first, and today's entry will be pushed down. Pages are static, and they're often along one of the two sides or across the top, and part of sort of the navigation structure of the blog. And those always stay wherever they happen to be on your blog, so they'll always stay present. So the consistent things like an About Me page, and next week we'll talk about a disclosure page, those are the things that should be used for pages. The third and final thing that you're going to do this week is create a blog roll. Now, blog roll essentially are just a list of other blogs that you find that are thematically related to your own blog. So you're going to come up with a couple of those that you're going to put into a blog roll. And one of the things that I'll do each week, starting with this week, is starting tomorrow, or essentially on Tuesday of each week. So on Monday of each week on my own blog, I'll post a summary of what I'm asking you to do. Then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and so on, I'll post a sample of what it is I'd like you to do. So what you'll see on Tuesday of this week is I will post my first entry, or my introductory entry. Then on Wednesday, I'll actually post material related to my About Me page, and I'll also post material related to my blog roll so that you can get a sense. So essentially, I'm going to model the act of blogging for you as we go along throughout the semester. So that's essentially what I'd like you to do for this week, and a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be doing. I'll try to prepare these quick videos at the beginning of each week to go along with the introductory text that you have in Moodle, as well as the weekly checklist. As always, if you've got any questions, feel free to email me at the address there on the screen, or refer back to the syllabus and give me a call on my cell phone, or try to catch me on Skype or Google Chat.